autistic, really autistic. Because of this, I've always struggled with other people. I feel disconnected from the rest of the world. Most people with autism tend to stay within their own worlds. I could be, for example, standing quietly in a bus stop, but in my head, it's an explosion of thought. I am creating this epic fantasy novel. I'm not too sure if it'll be any good or anything like that. The story is about after hundreds of years, the dragons are coming back, and there was these dragon knights, and they were chosen because their souls who you were going to like. There's going to be dragons. People expand villages. I wanted to be destroyed by the actually saved by the mercenary. The character's magic is trapped in a tower. His town, the fourth tower, is overseas by an evil. After the defences of the town failed, then forced her to fight some kind of gladiatorial games. And then she meets back up and the mercenary breaks out. So yeah, that's my mind. What were your first impressions of me?
I thought you were quite irritating. I was like, oh.
You were different.
It's just PG.
There's some crazy ideas and like mad things going on in your head, like dinosaurs, tanks and all that. And but I did think you were quite funny. You're a funny guy, and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be the funny one in the class.
Turned out obviously I was, but that's fine. That's fine.
I thought you were quite quiet.
My first impressions of you were that you were an interesting fellow.
Kept to yourself.
But we got to know you.
We got to know you and now we like it.
Stuck.
I was stuck.
That's what it is.
Do you remember when we had that group chat the first time? Do you remember the group chat? And you flooded it full of tanks.
Our kid's got a bit of a screw loose, but you know what? I saw potential in you. I saw potential. I was like, that man is a dark horse in the film and TV course.
I don't know, when I first joined the course, you were always running to me and you're like, oh, how's your day? Like you were different when I joined the course because you were the only one that was like, you were always running up to me. And I was like, oh, he's nice, he's interesting.
You were very upfront and stuff. You never pulled punches and stuff, and you still don't. I think you're pretty truthful actually. Obviously, a few situations I've been in, and you've never held back on them, and I respect you for that. Yeah.
What do you know about autism?
Not a lot, probably. I know that people have it worse than others, and
yeah.
Obviously autism can like go into other kinds of conditions and that, but yeah, not a lot.
Well, my cousins have autism, so I know there's a lot of different strands of autism. There's not really a definition to it.
Well, I have a sister that suffers with autism, so obviously I've grown up with it my entire life. And then once I realised that you had actually had autism, like, it all made sense, and I was like, because obviously, I know that it affects like social capability, and it affects.
Because you went, oh, it all makes sense now.
It's represented in different ways, depending on the person.
I'm just saying there was an understanding. It wasn't just because
I was a dick.
Yeah, like I remember the first days wouldn't shut up.
I know that autism is different in each person. So your autism can be different to someone else's. You do stuff in a certain way, but another person with autism would do stuff in a certain way. Like, it's not the same. The autism brings out different things in different people, if you get what I mean.
So obviously autism is a very diverse spectrum. It works in various ways, and it's quite unique from case to case.
My sister's autism, like, it has a massive effect on my family. Coming from like, she's like the only one that is autistic in the family, and obviously growing up with an older brother as well, I always felt like isolated.
This is my sister.
Every single day, I wish you would cease existing. When I was in, I think it was year 2, we had this like thing where we needed to pick a character from a film or book or something and say like a certain character did something and how they felt through it, but we had to say it from that character's perspective. And I had picked Aladar from the film Dinosaur, because at the time that was like my absolute favourite film, and I watched the shit out of it. And I remember sitting in front of the class and the teacher was like, so, because no one knew what the film was, so I had to sort of explain it, and then the teacher asked me, how did you feel crossing the desert? I was like, I don't know, I'm not him. And I didn't understand how other people could sit there and know how someone else was feeling when they've never experienced that. Like, I've never crossed a desert, and I'm glad I haven't. Look at you, angel. Personally, autism affects me in, like, sensory. Like, very much don't like touch, and I need things to be soft. And very picky with foods as well, like, even if a food doesn't feel right in my mouth, I won't eat it. And noise is another one. Noise makes me anxious. And I also very much don't understand how people work. I prefer computers. I mean, I guess the human is just a very complex machine. They do things because they just like it, and they like warm rocks, and I mean, who doesn't like warm rocks? Like a nice warm spot you can just sit in and enjoy. Because Liv always complains about, like, things Owen's done, and I always get confused, because, like, if you don't like him that much, then don't be with him, but then every day I go back to school, they act as if nothing happened. Most teachers sort of just, like, leave me to do whatever I do. Most of the time they're quite nice, but some can be a bit condescending. Like, one time in French I came into class with red paint on my hands, and Miss crouched down next to me and asked me if I had blood on my hands. Because yes, I just waltzed into the French classroom with blood on my hands. It's like, yes miss, I've just murdered a man. Mum and Dad try their best to help, but sometimes they can be a bit mean. Like, Mum sometimes has a go at me because restaurants are too loud, and she'll say, oh, it's not that loud in here. It's like, you wouldn't know, you're not me, you don't have my ear holes. Dad, I sort of understand, because he, like me, doesn't understand other people's experiences. So I get why he'd sometimes come off as a bit rude. Like, he means well. Sometimes he acts as though I'm just, like, not being serious with what I say and sort of brushes it off a bit. Hannah's very nice, and she helps, and so have a lot of my friends. They've tried to help the best they can.
I first suspect you had autism when you were about 3 years old, when you started nursery, because you were having problems with the other children, and I never really suspected anything different because she was my first child and I didn't have much experience with children. You started having the way you played with them. I was called in all the time because of your aggression towards other children when they took your toys away was more extreme than others. There was good things and bad things. I mean, there was good things like you would come up with very long words and your memory for dinosaurs and facts was good, and where other children at night were having bedtime stories about bears and Winnie the Pooh and stuff, you wanted me to read you the encyclopedia and sit there and list all the facts and details about dinosaurs, which was really bloody boring. But I had to sit there all night saying, this dinosaur was from the Cretaceous period and this, that, and yeah, and I had to sit there and do that. And you'd get attached to objects, like your wristband. You wore a wristband, it was I don't know, can you remember it, the red one?
Sports relief.
Sports relief. And you literally, your hand was white underneath it because you would not let this thing go. I had to sneak it off you and wash it and give it you back.
Slept with it on.
Yeah, you slept with it on. You act like you're an old man, really. That's like a little old professor. They were all like eating sausages and chips, and everyone was eating with their hands. And Ethan was sitting there with his knife and fork like this, eating like a little professor. And all the parents were like, oh my God, look at him. He was about 3. You were very good with adults and you got on with the teachers, but you always found it more difficult to interact with the other children of your own age. I don't think you could really relate to them, but it did get better. And as I would say, more coming to the end of senior school, we really saw a big change, because there was a time when we thought you wouldn't be able to cross a road on your own. Now you're getting buses and trains all on your own. But that's, I think, because we sent you to a lot of lessons like in Daisy Chain, where they helped taught you about communication and how to react with other people. Where probably someone learned about something when they were 10, you learnt it later on. So you appear immature in some situations, but in other situations you appear very mature. Your knowledge on, I was going to say, on useless information.
Useless information, yeah, go with that. Useless information.
And you're very kind and very loving.
Is he?
He is. That's the good. He is. He's very kind and very and very generous, and thinks of others. But then you always did that, even though you were very insular. You didn't want to hurt people, and you were upset that you had hurt them, but you didn't realise you was hurting people.
It is a mosaic of
He's a mosaic.
uniqueness. And you know what?
A beautiful.
The way I see it, there's no autism without Ethan D. Folger.
Will you miss me when you go to university?
You have no idea, but yes, actually, I believe you are one of the most lively people on this course.
Yeah, I know, without a doubt, yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
110%, I will miss Ethan.
Yeah,
In fact, we'll keep in touch, won't we?
Salford won't be the same without Stubworth.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we'll come home and we'll go out with you.
He is scum of the earth.
What is the main thing you dislike about having autism?
Just I can't really connect to people. Like there's always a barrier there. I can't feel like I feel like I'm always.
Is there?
Always,
Is there though?
I don't know.
Because I'm sure.
I always feel like I'm disconnected from you.
Because
guys.
with me and you, I don't feel like there's a barrier between me and you.
Overall, I think you're a great guy.
No, you just seem like a normal part of the class. Like, obviously you've got your quirks, but everyone does.
Now the Longhorns are gone, and the Drovers are gone, the Comanches are gone, and the Outlaws are gone, Geronimo's gone, and Sam Bass is gone, and the Lion is gone, and the Red Wolf is gone. Well, he cursed all the roads and the old men, and he cursed the automobile. Said this is no place for an hombre like I am.